In 1990, Nickelodeon Studios officially opened in Orlando, Florida. This is where several of Nickelodeon's shows were recorded back in the day. Some of the shows that were recorded at the studio included game shows like Double Dare and Guts, sitcoms such as Clarissa Explains It All, Hey Dude, and The Adventures of Pete and Pete, and even some early Nick Jr. series such as Eureka's Castle, Allegra's Window, and Gullah Gullah Island. However, this video is going to talk about something else that Nick Studios Orlando had done at one point. In April of 1992, Nickelodeon created their own time capsule. The time capsule was buried on April 30th, 1992, and it is planned to not be open again until 50 years later on April 30th, 2042. But how did the event go? Well, only one way to find out. The burial of the time capsule took place on G-Day, which was hosted by Get the Picture host Mike O'Malley. O'Malley started the event by showing off a time capsule from 1942, which of course contained relics from that time. He then explains that the purpose of the time capsule is to show kids of the future what was important to the kids of the 90s. Some of the things that were placed in the time capsule include VHS copies of Home Alone and Back to the Future, a Nintendo Game Boy, a pair of rollerblades, a Barbie doll, some pencils, and some Twinkies. Eventually, a young girl named Vicky came up onto the stage with a video camera, and that video camera got added to the time capsule. While it was still recording, might I add. What I find most interesting, though, is when Doc Brown from Back to the Future suddenly rushed up onto the stage. He rushed up onto the stage to warn Mike O'Malley that he's been to the future, and the future, disturbingly, has no GAC.
By the year 2042, there'll be no more GAC in the world.
So some GAC got manually added to the time capsule. And now it was finally time for the time capsule to be buried at Nick Studios Orlando. Except for a little debacle. Nick Studios Orlando officially closed in 2005. Because of this closure, some former employees temporarily dug up the time capsule and reburied it at the Nick Hotel. But after the Nick Hotel rebranded, the time capsule was reburied a second time, this time at Nickelodeon's current studios in California. And then this time capsule became so much more than a time capsule. And that is because the lid to the time capsule went up for auction, specifically at Heritage Auctions. According to Nick A Live, the time capsule's cover goes up for $4,100. However, if you have buyer's premium, then $4,920 US. Unfortunately, seeing only the lid to the time capsule go up for auction and not the entire time capsule is actually very upsetting. Because the lid specifically says, right where anyone can see it, not to open it until April 30th, 2042. But it is currently 2024. And the problem with that is the fact that the cover is already separated from the capsule. So that technically means somebody didn't listen to this very lid that is up for auction and opened the time capsule anyway. But don't be worried, because the time capsule itself is still buried safe and sound at Nick Animation Studios. And I'm going to assume that they gave the time capsule a new cover. But it's still just 2024, which means we have another 18 years before we can finally open up the time capsule once again. But you know what they say, patience is a virtue. Anyways, I think that's just about it for this video, and I'll see you later.